The plot is Old Hat. It's basically a haunted house movie set in outer space.
It's 1979.
Overdone set design. Yes, it's impressive, but it overwhelms what little plot there is.
What?
It's
It's
a horror.
sci-fi. Setting is everything.
It's everything, and it's also a horror film?
People stumble around in dark corridors and dark rooms looking for a cat. Not once, but twice.
That's a fair critique, actually.
No, that is not.
That's
The
a fair-
cat is important.
That's a fair critique.
What the hell is a cat doing on a space mission?
They
Also
need
a fair critique.
emotional support cats.
Why is the alien killing them? What reason? We're never given one. Oh, wait, because it's in the script. That's why.
Oh, we need motivations for the alien to murder things now.
I don't think we need motivations for a xenomorph to murder anyone.
I am, therefore I kill.
Yeah.
That was a 1-star review from IMDb. Hello and welcome to Spoilers Intended, a podcast about series and films. I'm Ryan, joined as always by Andrew
Hello.
and Steven.
Hi, diddly ho there, neighbor.
And in this episode, Ned Flanders is reviewing director Ridley Scott's 1979. So try that again. 1979 sci-fi horror classic. That's right. We're talking about Alien.
I think this is more suspense thriller than horror.
No, it's horror. I 100% am with the horror. Is it a suspense thriller? Yes, it's absolutely a horror.
Tomato, tomato.
Oh, we'll get there.
Listen, there's more important things to discuss, okay?
Sure.
Specifically, our favorite cats in media.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
Jonesy, great cat in this movie.
one of the best.
Let's talk about our
Very
favorite
good.
cats. I want to start with Steven.
Oh.
Hit us with your favorite cat.
So I am reaching back to 1993. That's right. We're doing Hocus Pocus, and we're talking about Zachary Binks.
Zachary
Oh,
Binks.
Thackeray.
yeah.
Actually, I think it's
Thackeray.
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 Binks.
Yeah, Thackeray.
But Binks.
Binks, yeah.
Binks.
Now, to be fair, as
Mhm.
a kid, I thought it was Zachary for the longest
Sure.
time.
I mean, it's,
It's very close.
colonial era,
But yeah,
whatnot.
but Zachary didn't exist back
Yeah,
then. It was
Thackeray.
Thackeray.
But either way, Binks is his name as a cat, basically as much as we know him, right?
Yeah.
And one, great movie.
Sure.
Always a classic to watch.
Classic
when,
Halloween flick.
Yeah,
Yep.
Halloween rolls around. We're getting a second one. We'll see how that goes.
TBD on that.
Yeah, we'll
Yep.
see. We'll see. But I think honestly, the cat is maybe the best character in this film, at least on the good guy's perspective. Yes.
I mean, you're probably not wrong.
Just agree with
He,
me.
he is the most competent.
Yeah,
Yes.
for sure.
Well, I mean, he's had a couple hundred years to
Yeah,
do this.
he's had a while to kind of figure stuff out.
yeah.
And obviously, I think the animatronic side of Binks holds up well. There's a couple of bits where the lack of technology really shows,
Sure.
especially when he's trying to do very specific actions that you can't have just a cat do
Yeah.
Yeah.
with actors on screen. Like it just doesn't. Like when he smacks the Virgin. I can't think of his name now.
I don't even know. But I mean, like,
The Virgin.
I mean, that is
Max.
Max. I mean, it's very hard to get a cat to do things.
Yeah,
that
I mean,
want it
you just
do.
have to work with what you get from a cat. But I mean,
I mean, real cats have hard time smacking virgins too. It's rough.
no, they'll do it
It's a
whenever.
rough thing to get a shot of in film.
Wow. But yeah, I mean, it's just a really great, entertaining film, and Binks is a really big part of it, right? He's on screen a lot and has some great lines, great moments. We have the bus scene that at the time was just
Oh,
horrifying.
absolutely horrifying.
But it's also, that it's coming. It's also pretty hilarious.
yeah,
Just because he's been around for hundreds of years, and this is just he's being a cat, but also a sort of aware human as a cat. He's I hate when that happens.
yeah, and then you get the essentially like the animatronic balloon where they like fluff him back up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
with magic from under the asphalt. But like he's such a good like sarcastic and spunky character.
Yeah,
for
and
just being a
he's
cat.
present throughout.
Yeah,
I think a lot of other movies that have kind of similar-ish characters, they're in it in pieces here and there because they probably were trying not to do too many animatronics. But like,
yeah,
He's just part of the party, right?
yeah, he's just part of. Yeah, he goes everywhere with them.
mm-hmm.
All right, Andrew, what's
okay.
your cat?
So
here we go.
Okay, so I pulled from my anime library of black cats. It is one of my favorites.
It's a deep library.
It actually is quite
library.
large.
Yeah.
But it is not Gigi from Kiki's Delivery Service. That was a very easy, low-hanging fruit. So I went with the 2011 hysterical comedy called Nichijou, or My Ordinary Life.
Bless you. Oh.
It is a sketch comedy parody, kind of totally ridiculous comedy series.
Yeah.
And there's a character in there called Sakamoto. He is a black ordinary cat.
So he does not talk. He's not like a...
Well, he does not talk
until
he is given a red bandana of science made by Professor. That's just her name.
Solid name.
So now he gets this cute little red bandana, but it also gives him the ability to talk to characters. And he is the most sarcastic and
perfect
callous character in the whole show.
So he's a cat.
He is a cat,
Yeah.
and emphatically a cat the entire time, because there are definitely times where he's having this very serious conversation of like trying to like, explain the meaning of the universe to people, and then a fly will pop up, and then he just immediately tries to kill it,
Right.
and then completely ruins the whole thing that he's actually a smart thing, because he's still just a cat.
He's still just a cat.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fun.
And
Squirrel.
Pretty much like the whole rest of the show is absolutely hilarious, and it's absurdist comedy. So you will have characters like wrestling deer in the middle of a school courtyard.
Right.
Literally no
reason.
no reason at all. It's just completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
If you are into generally like Far Side, like from like the actual like comics, this is kind of your alley.
I
for
would
that.
love this then.
Oh, it's absolutely just hilarious.
Yeah.
Like you will be rolling on the floor for all 26 episodes of the show.
Big Gary Larson fan right here.
Yeah. Totally recommended. But Sakamoto is great, and he is a good part of the show. That is always really fun. And I love black cats. I have one. He is upstairs, probably sleeping on his tower of fluffiness right
Saying
now.
something sarcastic.
Yeah.
What's the name of the show again?
My Ordinary Life, or Nichijou.
Mine, I'm going to pull from a bit further back. 1963.
Okay.
Oh.
From Russia with Love.
How sad. How sad.
Blofeld's cat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Parodied, obviously, in Austin Powers with Dr. Evil.
Mr.
But
Bigglesworth.
like a very iconic, very pretty, white, fluffy cat sits in this evil dude's lap. And it's
very patient.
in that movie, I don't believe we don't see Blofeld for another few films after that. So it's,
I don't think we actually see Blofeld until On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Yeah, especially in that one. Like all you see is when it's him talking is him petting this cat or a shot of the cat,
Well, I mean, obviously stuff, not just Austin Powers, but like Inspector Gadget.
Oh, yeah.
Picked up on that as
Dr.
well.
Claw.
There's
Gadget.
a lot of
Gadget.
there are definitely a lot of parodies that just have come from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know the origin of like if somebody was on set was like, let's give him a cat. That's kind of weird. And then
this cat's really patient. Just here, hold this.
Well, they kind of did the same thing with The Godfather with Vito Corleone. He had the gray tabby.
Yeah.
Which that one, I know Coppola found that cat as a stray just on set.
I was telling Andrew about
check
that
this out.
earlier.
Yeah.
So
hey, don't know what to do with your hands. Here, hold a cat.
Yeah, hold this cat.
So I kind of wonder if whenever they did it in From Russia with Love, if that was kind of one of the initial things that spurred on the trope of cats generally mean if they are owned by the person, they are generally the bad guys.
The bad guys?
Yeah.
Maybe. That may have been the earliest example of it.
Yeah.
I mean, Lady and the Tramp comes to mind.
What year was that?
That was early, like 50s.
That was before. I'm almost positive.
No,
I can
maybe
double check.
No.
Hold on, I can look it up. Y'all keep talking.
Yeah. But I wonder if that was kind of one of like the kind of like the flashpoints.
If it wasn't the start, it probably cemented that idea of like, or that trope of like the bad guy.
Lady and the Tramp is 1955.
Okay.
Oh wow!
I knew it.
Disney has a lot of stuff that's old.
Yeah.
But yeah, like because you always have like now, especially like anytime you see like, oh, this person has a cat or a Siamese cat or something like that, you're like, oh, well, they're probably the bad guy.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is unfortunate. I love cats. I like them.
But you're a bad guy.
Obviously,
so
a bad guy.
Yeah, I'm a bad guy.
Completely tracks. You're the bad boy of the podcast. Easy.
No.
I'd just like to point out that you broke theme here. We both picked black cats.
You did.
Yeah.
At no point did I say it had to be a black cat.
No, I'm not
and-
saying that.
And Jonesy
Yeah.
in Alien is also not a
Nope.
black cat.
No.
Orange tabby.
Before we get into our thoughts on Alien, let's take a quick moment to go over some plot summary and some details about the movie. When the blue-collar crew of the Nostromo responds to a distress signal from a barren planet, they discover a mysterious life form that breeds with human hosts. The acid-blooded extraterrestrial proves to be the ultimate adversary as crew members battle to stay alive and prevent the deadly creature from reaching Earth.
Yes.
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 You read the correct summary. Yes.
That is correct.
So this movie came out June 27th, 1979, directed by Ridley Scott. It was only the second movie he'd ever done, so it came
Yeah.
out of the gate pretty hard.
Yeah.
Directed Sir Ridley Scott, known for Blade Runner, Gladiator, Black Hawk Down, Thelma and Louise, The Martian, The Last Duel, House of Gucci, Hannibal, Legend, Prometheus, Alien Covenant.
Man, stop.
He's done a lot of
He's
stuff.
got a lot. Yeah.
He's all over the place. But I do like looking at the list of stuff. It's not like he just did science fiction
Yeah,
his
yeah,
whole
he
life.
broke out quite a
yeah,
bit.
he broke out quite a bit. Written by Dan O'Bannon, who also wrote Return of the Living Dead, which if you haven't seen that, is
Nope.
like a horror comedy not spinoff of Night of the Living Dead. It's like an unofficial spinoff
Okay.
that's not technically in George Romero's universe, but it's actually pretty good. It's pretty funny. And he did Total Recall.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
You got Sigourney Weaver, Tom Skerritt, John Hurt, Veronica Cartwright, Harry Dean Stanton, Ian Holm, and Yaphet Kotto. Composed by Jerry Goldsmith, who did Star Trek The Motion Picture, Poltergeist, First Blood, Gremlins, Explorers, Legend, bunch of stuff. Like this guy's got like 100
Yeah.
movie credits. But what did we think overall about Alien?
This is one of my favorite films of all time.
I would concur with that as one of my favorites also.
There is never a time where someone's like, "Hey, let's watch Alien," and I say no.
Same here. Steven?
It's fine.
Okay.
So
There's the guy.
There he is.
Well, backstory. My
Yeah.
first introduction to the Alien universe was not Alien. It was not Aliens. It was not Alien versus Predator.
Mhm.
No, it was the Alien ride at Disney World. At a point at which
Wow.
I was far too young to be exposed to whatever was going on in that
Yes.
bunch of the strobing, flashing lights. You're on the little.
Honestly, even as an adult, it was still pretty.
It's pretty
scary.
terrifying. Yeah, I mean, there's a panel on the roof that opens and the alien's head comes down and sprays
Nice.
water
I've
on
never-
you.
yeah.
It's pretty, honestly, pretty hardcore for Disney.
It's not still running, right?
No,
No.
for reference, it has now been replaced with the Lilo and Stitch ride or
Okay.
Experience
Whatever,
ride.
yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah,
The
whatever.
4D experience, whatever.
The
you wanna call it.
4D, you ride in a car.
I think that got switched back in the mid-aughts.
Why, spoiler free, do you like this movie, Andrew?
One, it is probably the only quotation marks horror, and I don't think it's horror.
Okay. fine.
But it is the one of the only thriller suspense films that I genuinely enjoy.
Yeah.
One, because Sigourney Weaver is just a tour de force in
Oh,
this
yeah.
film, and I don't remember if she did anything before this, but this was definitely the film where she just
It was a breakout role, I think.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I love how throughout the film you don't really see the alien until pretty much the end,
Yeah.
which I think is a fantastic way to do it because there was general limitations of the technology at the time.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's just a dude in a rubber suit, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And because of that, they Ridley Scott used lighting and different his set design to basically obfuscate a lot of the film to make it even more tense than what it actually was.
Yeah.
And I think it is just a masterpiece.
I agree. I love this movie. The characters are all fun. The moody atmosphere, the music, the set
music's so
design,
good.
all the H.R. Giger alien designs and all
Oh, yeah.
that stuff is so just alien looking. It's so
bizarre.
weird and
Yeah.
out there that it's yeah. And I think it's one of those movies that I use as a prime example of how to properly build tension
Mhm.
in a movie. I think it's a really good example of that. So,
So-
Steven, why do you think it's okay?
Well, I mean, it's not that I just think it's okay. It's just
Mhm.
not one of my favorites, right?
Okay, yeah.
And a lot of it is because it's a very good horror film, right?
Yeah.
They really took the lesson. I think I have this right in timeline here for Jaws. Of-
75.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of the animatronic kept breaking with Jaws, so they had to do all those shots kind of from the shark perspective, and it built tension, right?
Mm-hmm.
this, we're not getting, the alien's view or something.
Yeah.
But they still did a really good job of, we just have a dude in a rubber suit trying to stuff himself through kind of narrow
Passageway.
ducts and
Right.
stuff. So let's just only, briefly illuminate it by just having a spaceship that just the budget for light bulbs was right out. Can we ship you, Interstellar? Absolutely. Can you have light bulbs while you do it? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Because there is no lighting whatsoever. And there are moments where the lights are going on and off, strobe stuff. Just, you have to wonder who installed that lighting system and said, oh, yeah, this is just what you need in the engineering text. It'll illuminate everything for a fraction of a second.
Oh, there's an emergency? Yeah. It's just going to flash and pulse at such a rate that it makes you trip really easy.
Yeah.
It'd be great.
So before we get into scores, I just
Mhm.
wanted to also kind of pound down one more reason why I love this film so much.
Go for it.
Is this film has hands down the best movie trailer of all time. Fight me.
It is a really solid
I've
trailer.
never seen it, so I couldn't say.
It tells you absolutely nothing, and
Yeah.
you know exactly what the tone of the film is the
Mhm.
second that you see it. Unless you are my parents, I'm sorry, I'm going to throw you under the bus, but they went to see this film when it came out in
Oh,
theaters.
no.
and
This will be
they
a fun
thought-
movie.
They thought they were going to go see Star Wars.
Oh, no.
or like 2001.
Yeah, or like 2001 or something, and they did not get that.
Okay.
And I'm wondering, like, did you see anything on this film? I love you, but come
Well,
on.
my parents loved this movie, and I watched it when I was probably 4 or 5.
Mhm.
Like, I saw this way too early, but it didn't really scare me like other stuff did
Yeah.
as a kid. But I loved it. I've loved it my whole life. It's been the Aliens franchise, good and bad, has been a part of my life the whole way through. Let's get into our scoring.
Yeah.
So the way this works is each of us rate this movie across 5 different categories. We got spectacle, performance, score, plot, and entertainment. We don't know each other's scores. And then we take these mystery scores that we have given those 5 metrics and we shove them into a
Hyperbolic time chamber.
hyperbolic, I was going to say time chamber. We shove them into a
Pressure cooker.
pressure sleep chamber, send it off into space, and the only thing that survives is our overall score.
A hyper sleep chamber.
A hyper sleep chamber.
Yeah, there you go.
Hyperbolic rhyme chamber?
Yeah, a hyperbolic rhyme chamber. And our score for Alien is 8. How do you guys feel about that?
I think that is far too low.
It's a
I
pretty
blame-
solid. I mean,
I blame Steven for this.
honestly,
I mean, that
No,
probably tracks
not
with like
really.
critical consensus if I had to
No,
guess.
it's
but yeah,
an-
I agree also. I think it should be higher, but I'm biased.
it's an 8.3 on IMDb.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it tracks pretty well.
Probably tracks, yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's fine. I'm not mad.
Andrew's salty right now.
Why is he shaking and so red? Okay, so who is this movie for, Andrew?
I would definitely say people that one don't mind being scared or like having a lot of good suspense.
Sure.
If you like cats, this is a good film.
Not the movie Cats, but Cats the animal, right?
Cats the animal.
Okay.
The domestic feline.
If you're a big Jellicle Cat fan,
No,
You gotta
stop.
get
Please
this.
stop.
do you have a Rumple teaser poster? Then you gotta watch Alien.
Who is this movie not for?
I will say, hold on now.
Well, hold on. Who do you think it's for,
I will
Steven?
say, thought Andrew's opinion of who this is for is everyone.
No,
Even the
it's-
women and
it's
children.
not.
Chill it to your babies, you cowards.
No, I was being generally sarcastic.
Horror fans, definitely.
Sure.
If you like tense, suspenseful thriller, it's not super in-depth sci-fi per se, although it is certainly more of a sci-fi than your Star Wars, etc.
Sure.
But yeah, intense thriller. Well, okay, it's not your action sci-fi.
No,
It is definitely
it's
a horror suspense
it is
thriller.
an elemental sci-fi.
Whatever Andrew just said.
Whatever that means.
Yeah, okay. Moving on.
So who should avoid this movie? Who's this not for?
People that don't like to be scared.
Okay.
Yeah, if you can't handle jump scares, suspense, that kind of stuff, a little bit of
It's-
gore,
It's not super gory. It's not
a little bit,
incredibly.
just a little.
Yeah, but there are definitely scenes where if you don't handle general anxiety very well, especially
Right.
like if you watch films and you get really tense
Yeah.
and you don't like that feeling, don't watch this film.
Yeah.
or sit in a massage chair while you watch it, maybe. It just
Yeah.
keeps you loose. If you haven't watched this movie because it's an older film and maybe you didn't see it back in the day, know going in that it's paced slow on purpose. Like it builds some
Mm.
tension. So if you're
I-
looking for like a quick you know,
boom, boom,
boom,
boom.
boom, boom,
I
like
don't
modern
even
horror
feel,
movies.
Like, I don't even feel that feels like it's paced very
It's
slow.
not. I
Like,
don't
once,
feel
not,
once
but-
it goes, like the first 15, 20 minutes, maybe, yeah. But like once it goes, it does not let go of you.
Well, I think it's 45 minutes in before
the
twing
happens, yeah.
things start to unravel. If I
It's-
It was
time
It's a
already
hot
unraveling by then. But yeah,
But
anyways.
what I'm getting at is like modern horror fans, if you're like looking at this purely like as a scary movie, are used to things just like slamming
Boom,
off the
boom,
top.
boom.
Like
Yeah.
every modern scary movie just about starts with like a cheap jump scare
Yep.
and something insane, and then they try to get you early. This movie
Yeah.
makes you earn it. They do some world building. You know the characters and all that
I think
stuff. so
too, it kind of does the real slow burn and build, which is just a bigger oomph when it does finally land, right?
I agree. I'm
Yeah.
just using that as a word of caution
Yeah.
of like, don't go into this expecting.
Yeah, no, the final payoff of this film is fabulous.
I might take some objection to the final payoff, but there are definitely payoffs throughout that hit very hard.
He's wrong. It's fine.
All right, last meal before hypersleep.
Do you guys listen to music while you're stuck in there?
Nah, man. I listen to spoilers intended bonus episodes.
Yeah, if you support them for $1 a month on their Patreon, you unlock all their bonus episodes.
For just $1?
Yeah. Hey, does that guy look okay to you?
He's fine. These beans are just spicy. They also have a website, spoilersintendedpodcast.com. It's got previous episodes, links to Instagram.
Is that guy about to hurl?
I didn't think these beans were that spicy.
Oh, man. I've never seen heartburn this bad.
I don't know, guys. Put your fork down. It might be food poisoning. Put your forks down. What was in those beans?
Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my ragtime gal. Send me a kiss by wire. Baby, my heart's on fire. If you refuse me, honey, you lose me. Then you'll be left alone. Oh, baby, telephone and tell me I'm your own.
Check, please.
All right, so that means we are now past the spoiler wall, so it's all spoilers all the time. Before we get into our individual scores, I want to hit you guys with some trivia real
Sure.
quick.
All right.
Get your thoughts on some of this. So
Man in a
Ridley
rubber
Scott, do what?
Man in a rubber suit.
Absolutely.
Trivia, actually made of flubber, not rubber. Yeah, Ridley Scott cites 3 movies as his inspiration for this, or shaping basically the
Yeah, yeah.
outcome. Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope, 2001: A Space Odyssey,
Yeah.
and for its depiction of outer
Yeah, yeah.
space,
Mhm.
and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre for its treatment of horror.
Perfect.
Yeah.
A perfect combination.
Yeah, I was going to say that's basically exactly what I would peg as what the inspiration was.
Yeah,
for this
We
like
film.
the
actually-
combination of factors that led to this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We actually had a discussion before you got here about the idea of, when people separate off from a group and you're like, oh, you shouldn't do that. And whether or not at that time of cinema,
It
Yeah.
was
If
if
common.
the fans would be aware of this concept. And I was like, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is, 74.
74. Yeah,
And then so you say, oh, it's one of his inspirations. Like, okay, cool. I had the right idea of what
Yeah.
he's working with.
But then, like, people that were into sci-fi, especially
have
like
no way of
they
knowing.
don't, yeah,
Yeah.
because I know my parents had never seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre before that, just because they don't like scary stuff.
sure. Yeah.
So, like, going into this, like they had no idea.
Yeah, well, I imagine there's probably a lot of people that were
Yeah.
like that because Texas Chainsaw Massacre was, even though it was
It's still kind of
somewhat popular back then, it was still kind of a grindhouse.
Yeah.
You only went to see it if you were
Yeah.
like after a scary movie.
Yeah.
So there's probably a lot of people that went to see Alien that had no prior knowledge of
Oh,
that.
they totally
going in.
said, oh, Star Wars in 2001. Oh, I should go check
Yeah,
that
this is
out.
great,
Right.
yeah.
I love sci-fi. Scare the Jesus out of you.
So it was actually conceptual artist Ron Cobb who came up with the idea that the aliens should bleed acid. They came about this when Dan O'Bannon ran into a wall with the screenplay and how to handle the last half of the movie. He needed a good reason for why the crew members don't just shoot the thing and kill it and still not make it an indestructible monster that can't be killed.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
acid blood was the idea that solved the problem of that. And then that led to Ridley Scott.
Yeah.
What if we have a scene where it goes through the,
Well, and then
decks.
turns out having that kind of crux for the xenomorph is fantastic for aliens.
Yes.
yeah.
When you have people that want to shoot them.
So the chest burster scene was not filmed in one take, like the myth often says. Like people try to make it out like it was.
Oh, like
The-
they didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah. The scene was actually filmed twice. On the first take, the chest burster did not make it through Kane's shirt. So the crew needed to reset and shoot it again, but the failed attempt is actually visible in the movie because Ridley thought it made it look like the creature was struggling to push its way out.
Yeah.
And so that made the scene even more violent, which is crazy. That wasn't planned. That it was going to just explode out immediately.
Yeah.
And then when it couldn't get through, they left that in as like to make it more tense. I was like, that's some fun editing.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
Yeah.
For that chest burster sequence, John Hurt, he stuck his head, shoulders, and arms through a hole in the mess table, linking up with like the mechanical torso that was packed with compressed air and lots of animal guts, which according to Sigourney Weaver caused the set to smell terribly.
Shocker.
So the rest of the cast were not told that real blood and guts were going to be used. So as to provide genuine reactions and shock and disgust. So apparently this worked so well that Yaphet Kotto went home in complete shock afterwards, locked himself in a room, and refused to talk to his wife for several hours.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No.
One last one. The dead face hugger that Ash autopsies was made using shellfish, 4 oysters, a sheep kidney, and some other internal organs to recreate the look of it. That's why it looks so real and so like
because it is.
Yeah, biological.
That set had to
Filming had to be done quickly because the organic material would go bad extremely fast, especially under
all the
studio
lights.
lights.
Yeah, I was say, I bet that smelled awful.
Well, yeah, because like those studio lights are brutally hot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get into our individual scores. Let's start off with Spectacle. Who wants to take it?
I want to hear Steven's take first.
Steven, get up in here.
Me
Spectacle.
on Spectacle, I gave it a 9.
Nice.
This is almost a perfect replication or rendition, I guess I should say, of sci-fi horror.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The strobing light, they don't make sense. We can get into that later.
I mean, sure, yeah.
But the strobing light effects, just the warning lights, the whole her having to go through the whole self-destruct sequence and then also try to undo it.
Well, and the whole aesthetic of just
the aesthetic is so good. But like the look of all of the alien world and the crash ship and the H.R. Geiger inputs, right?
Yeah.
Those are still hold up great today.
Well, in the 1-star review, when he's complaining about the overdone set design, I'm like, what are you talking about?
What it's about.
Like the ship and the mess hall, everything's just,
Yeah. And I think, there are a couple of complaints. There's a few effects that don't hold up as well now. Watching the Nostromo explode it was okay.
It's 1979.
I was going to say, for 79, though, I think that
good.
was probably...
And it's 1979, and they didn't have ILM.
Right. The initial explosion isn't great. The actual, kind of aftermath of it is good.
Yeah.
And some of the other, like she uses the thruster and stuff like that, the flamethrowers, all these things come off really well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just that one little bit. And then also, there's almost a little too much design going on in some of the sets where it's not that it's overdone. It's just that when you look at it, you're like, nobody lives and works in these conditions. No, like this is not.
Well, future people do, Steve.
Well, obviously,
I mean, this is clearly like a
Future miners love it.
relatively dystopian future.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, yeah. But I mean, you have, like with the main crew quarters, the mess hall, those all look bright, clean, good.
Yeah.
It's everywhere else where it's like.
Everyone else in the Nostromo, yeah.
Like literally, if you just don't have your headlamp, well, you just can't work today. It's like, okay, no, nothing is set up that way. But it's a good spectacle.
Yeah.
It just can throw you off some in terms of keeping you dialed into the idea that this is a real working, breathing ship as opposed to, it's just a set for a little horror monster to scuttle around it in the background.
Yeah.
So,
Andrew, would you give it?
I also gave it a 9.
Nice.
But basically for the same points. I thought Ridley's just general cinematography for this was just absolutely just phenomenal.
Fantastic. Yeah. It's so purposeful. There's so many shots.
I left you this.
Yeah.
This.
His use of lighting throughout the whole film is just absolutely just spectacular.
Like in the opening shot when Mother is waking up the computer and it's reflected in the emergency helmets on the back of the seats. Like I love that every time it happens.
Yep. Like there's just even the when Dallas is in the kind of like the corridor and he's like shooting the flames.
Oh, I love
down
that.
the thing.
The ducks.
And you because you know what's going to happen.
Sure.
At this point, there's no way he's surviving this.
Right.
But you just know, as he's doing that, just it's just so good.
Yeah.
And like I've basically only knocked it 1 point, mostly for just some of the Nostromo things. What are you squinting at me
I
for?
left you this point, and you're not going to bring it up. You said the word cinematography, and then you just ignored a huge horror scene.
I don't. Well, what?
So
The
when
chest burster?
No.
Oh, no. Like I was getting there. I was
were
getting
you-
there.
Somebody
you
clue
though?
me in
Yeah,
fast.
okay, no. So my final point
Uh-huh.
was going to be whenever she goes into basically look at the dead body that has the chest burster on it. Chest burster's not there anymore, or not the
no,
face
it's a
hugger.
face hugger. He's not dead yet. He's just in coma.
You're right. The face hugger's not there anymore,
Mhm.
and it's basically they have to try and catch it.
Yeah.
Right in that,
Mhm.
and some of the shots of him of basically the POV kind of the chest burster on the floor,
Yeah.
where they're looking around and trying to find it and stuff,
Mhm.
because you know what's going to happen, but it's also kind of terrifying because I have a less problem with big human-sized problems. I have a
Sure.
big problem with very small spider-like
Little
problems.
ankle
Right.
biters.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it definitely feels as if the scene is being shot from the creature's perspective, because it's
Yeah.
low down on the ground and
Well, and they
everyone's
switched
looking
to a
around.
handheld camera at that
Mhm.
point.
Yeah.
Not shaky, but just enough to give some
Some general
slight movement
Yeah.
to it right there to kind of
Mhm.
shift it again. So your perspective changes and
Mhm.
the type of camera
Yeah.
work changes too to kind of drive that home.
Ryan.
I gave it a 9.
Hey.
9's all around. Same stuff. I think the cinematography is great. The lighting's amazing. I do want to shout out the sound design because a lot of the sound effects are just really fun and creative. Like when the computers boot up.
You know, we have a category that could kind of fit in.
Yeah,
The
score.
score?
Yeah, score.
I'm talking
That's-
sound
that's-
effects.
Well, that could
That
be sound
still
design
fits.
too.
That still fits.
Yeah.
Okay.
Keep
Never
on. Carry
mind.
on. No, carry on.
I
Do
put it in
do
the
your own
spectacle. I
thing.
thought it's well, because y'all took all my other points.
Get right. You let us go first.
I know. I think the cinematography is great. I think the lighting's great. I was trying to see if I had any other points other
No,
than
I mean
that.
it's
Yeah.
it's just a tour de force of just Ridley, and this is his
Yeah.
second film.
This is number
Yeah.
2. And there's so many, from what I understand, just from stories on the set of how Ridley Scott's imagination would just
Mhm.
run with stuff. Like the idea that they didn't know it had, acid for blood.
Yeah.
And then the one dude was like, what if it had acid for blood? And he's like, I've got a scene. There's when they first go down to the planet,
Mhm.
the people in the suits are actually children. They put children in suits so that
Oh.
they would look smaller on that ramp
Oh.
than it would look like it was an
Oh,
adult was
yeah,
actually
yeah, so
standing
it
there.
looked much
Yeah.
There's a
larger.
bunch of tiny things they came up with both for budget and technology
Mhm,
reasons.
mhm.
The alien spacecraft was a model.
Yeah.
Where the
The
space
derelict,
jockey's
yeah.
at.
Yeah.
And it looked cheesy when they just shot it straight on too much of them walking up towards it.
Yeah.
So what he did was he found an old video camera and was like, let's just shoot it handheld as if it's from their perspective, and we'll have Ash watching it on a monitor back, on the
Yeah.
ship, and that adds even more suspense and creepiness to it because you can't quite make out what they're
Not sure
seeing.
what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that kind of workaround ended up being something that was even better than what they probably had planned
Mhm.
originally. So there's just so many things like that happen in this movie that just make it absolutely one of my favorite movies. And definitely cinematography and lighting, though.
Yeah.
You could teach a class based off this movie.
So one of my just that kind of reminded me of one of my other favorite scenes is whenever Brett is in the garage and the alien and maybe this is in the not theatrical cut where
Mhm.
basically the alien's hanging upside down and you don't really notice that it's the alien at first.
Yeah.
And then because you have kind of the blue light and it all just looks like everything's kind of hanging down.
I think
All
that's
the
director's
chains
cut.
and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it basically kind of comes down and gets ready to kill him.
Yeah.
I love that shot. But
Yeah.
that may be director's cut.
Which, by the way, tiny info here. Ridley Scott says the theatrical version is the definitive version.
Okay.
So his director's cut he did in 2003
Mm-hmm.
was just done as part of a the
Promotional.
special edition release
Yeah.
on DVD or whatever it was. Yeah, DVD
Interesting.
says pre-Blu-ray.
But,
And he did the cut, and he basically trimmed it by 4 minutes, the overall
Mhm.
movie.
Huh.
And a lot of the scenes, it's the same scene, it's just a different take of
Oh,
a scene
interesting.
or a different
Okay.
angle of that scene.
Okay.
So it's really just kind of like a minor remix. And he didn't do it because the theatrical wasn't his vision. It was more of a,
This
hey,
is
here's a fun little
it's
remix.
a fun look at
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
angles we
It
did.
wasn't like Blade Runner.
Right. No,
Yeah.
definitely not like Blade Runner that had several versions.
7.
But yeah, so just for anyone watching at home, the theatrical version is apparently Ridley's like
That is his vision.
the one he
Yeah.
prefers. All right, well, let's move on to performance.
Go ahead.
I'll jump in
We
here.
took all
Sure.
the points.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
take it.
I gave it an 8.
Okay.
I think Sigourney Weaver is fantastic in this movie.
Mhm.
I think Ian Holm is
Yep.
great as Ash. The entire cast is solid, but some of the other characters,
Brett and Parker kind of fall a little bit flat.
yeah, and
Lambert?
yeah, I'm trying to think of the actress's name, but yeah, Lambert.
Mhm.
They do their job. Like they do a
Yeah.
very solid job. They just don't rise to the same heights as Sigourney Weaver and Ian
Mhm.
Holm, specifically Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah.
So for me, like it's her movie basically.
Mhm.
What about
Yeah.
you? What'd you get?
I gave it a 9. Mostly
Nice.
for the same points. I felt Tom Skerritt, Ian Holm, and Sigourney Weaver just absolutely take all the energy from basically everyone else.
Right. Yeah.
But just Sigourney Weaver is just such a fantastic actress
Mhm.
that she just carries the whole film just on her back, just the whole time.
I do think too that I like that they scripted a lot of the scenes to where everyone's talking over each other, and a
Mhm.
lot of the arguments, like especially later when Dallas is dead and people are interrupting each other and talking over each other. It doesn't feel like a movie
Yeah.
where you say your line, I say my line, you say your line, I
Mhm.
say. It's like all happening at once, and
Mhm.
it's supposed to be like they're
Chaos.
Yeah, chaos.
I gave it an 8.
Okay.
Mostly on, I mean, obviously Sigourney Weaver is Sigourney Weaver, right?
Yeah.
But mostly on the strength of the chemistry across the crew.
Mm.
They felt like a crew that has been shipping out together,
Yeah.
dealt with, other issues. They have long-standing complaints. Like you open with Parker and
The shares.
Brett. Yeah.
arguing about the shares.
Yeah.
And just kind of long-standing stuff like that carried through that makes it feel, and they do a good job of selling it, that feels like these are real people who have worked with each other for a large period of
Decades,
time.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought of Veronica Cartwright as Lambert.
hmm
I thought she actually got some pretty good things to do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
with-
towards the end, she actually had a pretty
Right,
solid.
with the whole just come apart, because
Yeah.
she is kind of the one who really has the biggest emotional reaction to what's happening.
When I
Mm-hmm.
was younger, she was very grating to me because I was like, just get on board.
Yeah, get over
Fight
it,
the
lady.
yeah. But
Yeah.
as I get older, I appreciate it more that she is doing that role very well of like the
Mhm.
breakdown and like the way she's handling it.
Because you need, in a horror, right, you need that type of character. Because
Yeah.
that's the balance to the machismo or whatever else you end up with.
Yeah.
On the flip side, right?
Yeah.
And then, of course, both sides of that coin dies because it's a horror. Joke's on you. It doesn't matter. But yeah, I mean, that, I really, the chemistry, I mean, Bilbo running around being an android is always entertaining to watch.
He's pretty chilling in the role.
Mhm.
Like, because in that,
Yeah.
that set such the tone for the other films that came after it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, and there's the scene when they go down to the planet and he's going to be monitoring them and he stands there and kind of like jogs in place really fast.
Yep.
Yes.
Apparently that was an ad lib that Ian Holm just threw in there. And when you watch it the second time, if you
Yeah.
haven't seen it the first time, knowing that he's
Knowing the
an
motive.
android, it all of a sudden is like, oh wow, is that like a weird
It was like a tick
thing?
Yeah.
But the first time you see it, it's just like he's trying to wake up,
Yeah,
or
or
you,
like-
you don't really register it as creepy as, for me at least, on the second, or
Yeah.
third time viewing it, of like, oh, that's weird.
Well,
Yeah.
you almost assume he's getting ready to be one of the people in the away team, right? He's
Yeah.
getting himself built up for the 2-kilometer hike or whatever, and then he just goes and sits in a chair, and you're like, dude, what the heck?
All right, well, let's move on to score. The score of the score.
Yeah.
I'll lead off. I gave it a 9.
Yeah.
I really like this score.
It's very good.
very moody. It perfectly fits the atmosphere. It builds tension and punctuates scenes perfectly.
Yep.
And Jerry Goldsmith, watched cuts of the movie and scored to the cuts like a lot of
Oh,
composers do. So
I
he didn't like
yeah.
make them ahead of time.
And
then,
then they
So like especially in the opening when the sleep chambers are opening or
Mhm.
whatever. Like if you really listen to that score, that music right there,
Mhm.
it goes through a whole journey when it opens up of like waking up. It
Yeah.
almost sounds like morning music or whatever. And then just the transitions in the songs are really good.
Yeah.
What'd you give it, Andrew?
I gave it an 8, basically for the exact same things. There's a couple tracks in the general BGM that are
Mhm.
I'm not gonna say forgettable. They're like, because I definitely can recognize that it is Alien when
Yeah.
when I listen to it.
Mhm.
It's mostly just a lot of it is still very creepy for me.
Right.
But I think the main title theme for the film
Oh, yeah.
is just phenomenal.
Very good.
It's so good. And
Yeah.
he hasn't really done a lot. I mean, like, he's done other stuff, but he's not one of those composers that like you think of.
Yeah.
whenever
Yeah,
you think
it's-
of like
When
musicals.
you look at the body of work he's done a lot of stuff that's like solid,
Yeah.
but he's just not, you don't think of him like a John Williams or
Yeah.
anybody like that.
Yeah.
Steven, what'd you give it?
All right, I'm gonna be the voice of dissent here. We're gonna carry it down the scale. I waffled between a 7 and a 6.
Yeah.
And I actually landed on a 6.
Okay.
So the main theme is good, right? But everything else is just kind of horror sci-fi, and nothing else really catches with you.
But so here's the question though,
Mhm.
is I understand that yes, it is horror sci-fi, but
Yeah.
this was the horror
It
sci-fi.
was. It was. And so I also kind of lumped other complaints in here that kind of, we'll call it sound design or sound mixing,
Hmm.
especially towards the start when they're going out onto the planet. Like there's a certain point where it's like, bro, I get it. The planet's a harsh environment. Turn this crap down and play me some mute. Give me something creepy. Do something else. But just the constant, just like at some point, one of the people on the away team needs to like cover their mic or adjust the sound settings because this is just
Do we have a windscreen?
blasting. Yeah, like it is just blasting you. And for one of those kinds of moments where we could have something else backing it that could either add to the creepy, build suspense, anything, just kind of the constant buffeting from this is just like, man, I just don't need this.
Yeah, I mean, and there are definitely a couple times when they are going out to the
Mhm.
derelict that it is kind of tough to hear what they're saying,
And-
just because it is going through like
and
the
that's
static of the radio.
that's
Yeah.
okay, just because that's a deliberate
I think
choice,
it's by
right?
design, yeah.
That's absolutely by design.
It's more just the sheer, it's not just wind sound that they had going there, where it was like, okay, we don't need this. Like, am I a microphone outside of the suit, but they're all in the suits? You know, like a lot of scenes like this, you'll get kind of the heavy, I'm going into the first entrance, you know, like
Yeah.
the breathing.
Yeah.
We don't really get any of that. It's just this. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
I don't need this.
The oppressive just noise of
You've
it.
made your point. It's a harsh environment. Moved on to something else.
I mean,
so.
that is completely fair.
Speaking of moving on to something else,
Hey.
let's talk about the plot. Andrew, what did you give plot?
So I gave plot a 7.
Okay.
Which is I felt it was kind of like on the edge of a 7 and an 8.
Yeah,
I
same.
think that the it's so hard because I love this film a lot.
Yeah.
And it like from the beginning to end, it makes a whole lot of sense of, kind of where everything, goes. But some of the character decisions in the film do bother me of just kind of how stupid some of these people are.
Sure.
Um,
They're simple space miners, though.
I mean, that is totally fine. They're not, some.
They're not used to dealing with this.
Yeah. And they're clearly dealing with an extraordinary
Situation. Yeah.
But yeah, for the most part, it was really just some of the character decisions. Like Lambert was kind of tough to deal with. Like you said, when you first watched it, growing up, you felt that she was very grating.
Yeah.
And I understand. You need to have a character like that has this mental breakdown in the film.
Well, like somebody, odds are one of the crew is going to be that person. you
Yeah,
know?
Mhm.
and unfortunately, most of them don't live long enough for that to actually happen.
Right.
Right.
But it's definitely one of those to where like Dallas like choosing to go into the Ducks seemed kind of like out of place from what they probably should have done. I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think he's kind of like, all right, let's just get this thing done. Let's go to bed. Let's-
Yeah,
like
like-
he was kind of,
He was kind of over it at
Yeah.
that point.
yeah.
And I think from a captain's perspective, I don't think that was the right call.
No.
So,
Yeah.
that's kind of like those kind of just general decisions were like, oh, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go to Ryan.
I'll
then.
jump in
yeah,
because
get
I'm
in.
going to build off some of that stuff. I gave it an 8.
Yeah.
I waffled between 7 and 8.
Yeah.
And ultimately, what pushed it up to an 8 for me was because, I mean, at the outset, it really doesn't break the mold on like what a horror movie
No,
or like a thriller movie would do, like
Mhm.
in terms of like the broad stroke bullet points.
Uh-huh.
But I think the way that the alien works, so
Mhm.
it comes out of an egg, then there's a face hugger, and then it like incubates inside you. then it hatches out, then it grows and becomes this big monster.
Very
The
rapidly.
metabolism is very fast.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting and unique.
With almost no input. Like, it's not like he ate
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
other,
Yeah.
other
He just,
bodies.
he-
Got big.
And so it's like Ash, like the twist with him.
yeah.
Like the first time you see it, like it's got to be huge. Because I remember as a kid being like blown away. Because I always thought as
He
a
was just some creepy guy.
he was just a dude who was a company man
Mhm.
who was trying to get this
Alien
alien
back.
back to
Yeah.
Wayland Yutani. But like when you realize that he's got that other layer of no, this kid's an android. All of a sudden, it's like we're already dealing with this one problem.
Yep.
Mhm.
Now we have to deal with this other one. So for that, I think that is an interesting addition to what would be otherwise just a basic haunted house in space
Yeah.
plot.
Mhm.
Yeah, his little, like, because he does add a little bit extra kind of like twist to that.
Yeah.
Because, like, in a horror film, you never want to help the bad guy, right?
Yeah.
And then, like, he's like, actually.
Right.
We want to collect this specimen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Steven, what'd you give it?
So I gave it a 7. So I think having Ash as kind of the bad actor in the middle of the party
Mm-hmm.
works really well in the sense that it lets a lot of kind of classic horror mistakes happen without them just seeing dumb.
Yeah.
Kind of like him violating the quarantine because he has this other
Ulterior
directive,
Yeah,
motive.
right?
Yeah.
I will say having, again, it's 2022, the year that we've been through in the past couple of years, watching everyone just go in and out of the med bay and just be like, mask, what are masks? It's just like
Yeah.
kind of triggering because
Yeah.
in a sense, it's almost like, man, like this thing is on this dude's face. You don't know where it came from. You don't know what it is. Why in the world? You're in here with like this little piece of plastic on your face. You're like, oh, we put them in the container. You can take your mask off. It's like, oh,
I'm pretty sure in '79 they were still smoking while they were doing surgery. And
I mean, like,
ah,
man, it's just one of
Oh,
those
some
things.
nicotine fell in there. It's
I don't.
It's fine. Tut,
It's
tut,
fine. He smokes 3 packs a day. It'll be fine.
gives him a little spice in there.
I have some other complaints there, specifically actually around Ash and his mission,
mhm,
in the sense that if the crew is expendable,
mhm.
then there is no way that Ripley should be able to just look it up as the 3rd officer and pull it up out of the computer.
Well, I think it defaults to her because Dallas is
Because
dead.
It
Dallas
doesn't.
is dead.
Dallas, if the crew is expendable, Dallas shouldn't be able to pull this up. Like this is not.
I mean, that is, I do agree there.
Yeah, like this should be something where like she's, paywalled, blocked by order 937 or
Yeah.
whatever. And then once Ash snaps and they defeat him, they bring him, they plug his head in and talk to him, and that's where it's revealed.
So my defense of that would just be that like Ash was a late addition to this crew,
Mm-hmm.
and they mentioned that in
And
the
they may
opening.
didn't
Like
have
if you
enough
worked with
time
him,
to-
and my assumption, and this is all like headcanon,
Yeah.
reading between the lines, would just be that like these ships are designed so if somebody dies, the next person gets full, access to that kind of stuff, and there's no way remotely for Wayland Yutani to shut that off. And
Yeah.
the idea was Ash will kill whoever tries to get in there, which he tries to do as soon
And
as
he comes
Ripley
comes
discovers.
right up. Yeah, and that's fair. It's just kind of weird because like, hey, we can put this subroutine in, but we can't hide it from anyone. Well, you own the whole thing. What do
Yeah.
you mean you can't hide it from
I
someone?
think that could be though like a fundamental like how people understood computers in 1979.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's also fair. It's just it's
We do have
It's-
like modern user control.
yeah,
in
it's
mind
just
here.
almost
Yeah.
too easy for her to get access to it
Mm-hmm.
when it's such a big deal for the plot, right?
Right. If they could have given her like, if I can get Dallas's,
Yeah, password
login
or
key
whatever.
or something, then it'll.
Or even just give her the clue. She's trying to find information. It's like, sorry, this is hidden under 937. Oh, well, I got Dallas's. I can access this. It's like, no, it's still okay. This is a bigger deal.
This is higher than.
And then Ash is kind of like, well, what are you doing, Dave? Behind her.
Yeah.
And we go from there. We get basically the same scene. It just then you have the reveal there, and it's maybe a little more sinister feeling. Whereas this kind of felt a little kind of like the Three Stooges hatch a plan to go get a xenomorph.
Sure.
Um,
I disagree, but okay. Sure. I think though it does lend to that like really cool shot of like she realizes what's going on. And then she leans back and it reveals Ian
He's just
Holmes
right
just
there,
sitting there waiting.
being
Yep.
a creep.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good but that scene still
Yeah.
could have happened while she's being
Yeah.
paywalled. I'm not getting a good word here.
Paywall.
No, but like,
Paywalled
yeah,
out.
she shouldn't have had access to that
Yeah.
info.
yeah, absolutely.
I do
So-
also want to shout out like the false ending, if you will, at the end that like
Oh, yeah, that's-
everything's fine, everything's nice, and then she's turning on the different things, and the alien's right there in the shot, and you don't even notice it.
Of course,
Love
that's
that.
also a little weird too, because I don't.
It's tired. It's had a lot of killing.
I was supposed to say I don't
Yeah.
understand what it's probably because it's kind of like just chill, like, yo, bro, what's up? And then she's like, oh, like it sees me, I see it. I'll go in this closet, like in full view of it. I go in this closet, and it's just like
Yeah.
object permanence now. It's like, oh, it disappeared from me. Where did she go? You know, like,
Well, no, I mean it is resting after like
guess.
it's not that it sees her.
It's probably full.
Yeah, like it's just like, you know what? I'm just tired.
Have you ever eaten a lot of
guess.
chili?
I
You just want to sleep.
I had a lot of
afterwards.
beans today,
Yeah.
and you know,
I can't eat this, lady.
yeah, it was one of those things where for it being such a monster throughout, where it's just like, yeah, just chilling here. How's it going? Was just a little strange.
yeah. I mean, sure.
Where it's literally full of like it can. It's not like it's trapped in there or it just. It's there. It's there by choice. It
hanging
can get out. You know,
It's just trying to
chilling.
take a nap. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little weird.
He
Well,
just
I
wants
think-
to sleep.
It's also, like we don't know anything about this
The metabolism
species
of
of
this.
like,
Right.
maybe it like just chills out in front of other things in plain, or maybe it was trying to hide so it could take a nap, or like there's a lot that's kind of like left
It's just not.
unexplained.
It's not explained or told.
Yeah.
And I think for as big a horror as it could be, this is kind of almost like, oh, we're just walking down the gutter, and the clown is just laying in the gutter, and it's like, sup, at this point, right? Like
Where
the
do
end
you
of
walk
It.
around?
I'm just saying, like this is almost as if at the end of it, the clown's just laying in the
Oh.
gutter, like, sup.
He does that. Have you seen the movie?
Well, yeah, but
No,
he's
I'm just
in
playing.
the drain. Shut up.
Sup. I'm taking a nap.
But yeah, I mean, like I guess
there was an opportunity there, right, where you could have had the same sort of thing like we got with Dallas in The Hatch, where you have the drips or whatever that he
Yeah.
touches, where it's the same sort of thing, where like, oh, she touches it and she looks and like you see like its tail or something sticking out, and she's and backs into the closet, etc. Right, and I think that could have hit a little better just because it's been such a terror throughout, and then again, it's just chilling.
yeah. Like,
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I completely disagree. I
Yeah.
love that scene. I love everything about the tension.
You just-
and
Oh, yeah.
that whole
Man,
back
well,
end.
you
Yeah.
just like
at that point, you've had the entire example of what this thing is capable
can
of
do,
doing.
yeah.
yeah.
And so now you know that if she makes one singular sound that is larger than a pinprick or her putting
yeah.
her legs in
Mhm.
the spacesuit, she is 100% dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you just like it because Ridley Scott used it as an excuse to make Sigourney Weaver strip on screen.
Now, they could have gotten a lot worse. This was the 70s. We could
Yeah.
have seen. I feel like it's pretty restrained
It-
for
it
the
was pretty
70s, to be
yeah.
absolutely honest. Like, all right, well, let's move on to, speaking of Sigourney Weaver, let's move on to, no.
The cursed segue.
move on to entertainment. I gave it a 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, I love this movie. I had this moment where I finished watching it, and I sat back and I was like, how can I justify giving every score a 10? And I like really thought it through, and I was like, no, I
Is
gotta
this
be
the perfect film?
yeah, I gotta be unbiased. I've gotta be, like look at this logically.
That's
and-
why
and-
entertainment exists as a scoring.
right. And so I was like, I'm not moving entertainment from a 10. Yeah, again, not just to rehash, the cinematography is great. The
Yep.
characters are great. Sigourney Weaver's great. I think this is the strongest movie in the Alien franchise. I love Aliens. I think it's a very good action movie, but I
Yeah.
think
Mhm.
this movie is just like
It sets
it's
up
one of my
everything.
favorite movies
Yeah.
of all time. Yeah, it's a fantastic film.
Yeah.
What'd you give it, Andrew?
I also gave it a 10. It was the first score that I wrote. And as I was writing this review, I was like, how hard, like, can I justify giving a 10 to a lot of these categories? Because like, seriously, this is definitely one of those films where if someone is like came over to my house unannounced and was like, hey, you want to watch Alien?
Oh,
I'd be like,
any day of the
heck
week.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
go. Like right now, I got the laser discs over here.
Yeah.
And
I got it on my UMD on my PSP. That's PlayStation Portable. It's not an obscure format. You are.
What
Uh,
the heck?
Laserdisc?
yeah, but I mean, like,
He's a purist.
The cinematography is great. The
Look, it let him avoid all of George Lucas' special edition meddling, so it's fine.
It does like that. Well, that's
Sure.
initially that's why I got
Yeah, I
a
know.
Laserdisc was so I could have the original
Yeah.
copies because VHS will absolutely degrade. Technically, Laserdisc
Sure.
will too. It just lasts a lot longer.
Mhm.
Anyways, but yeah, no, I
Superior
mean,
format.
the film is fantastic.
Mhm.
I just I can't get enough of it. Like, I love this film so much.
Yeah. I think we've gushed enough.
Yeah.
Steven, what do you think? What do you give it?
I give it a 5.
No, I gave it a 7.
4.
Shut up. I
A 7?
I gave it a 7.
Nice.
It's very heavy horror,
Mhm.
and I think it does that very well.
Yeah.
Horror isn't necessarily my thing, and also at this point, maybe when it came out, right, some of the tropes are groundbreaking,
Mhm.
but watching it from this perspective, where it's not like I was around to see it in theater. I think I
Sure.
saw it first probably somewhere in the mid '90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at that point, you already know all the tropes of, oh, nobody split up. Hey, you go get the cat by yourself. Okay, well, he's dead. Like it kind of telegraphs itself almost too much at this point. I do really love the cat jump scares because it's such a great break of, oh, holy crap. Oh,
Yeah.
phew. No, you're still screwed. It's just delayed for a second.
Yeah. Well, and I think that cat scene specifically where he lets the cat go is good because it explains, it kind of sets up the reason he would go off by himself. They're like, you let it go. It's going to pop up on the,
On the
detector
motion, yeah.
again. You got to go get it.
Mhm.
It's your fault type
Yep.
thing.
Well, and also, I mean, not to loop back into plot, right? But we
Mhm.
all saw the size of this thing that came out of Kane and just freaking scuttled right off.
You
Yeah.
would think it'd be a cat.
Well,
Or the
it's
size of
the
the
right
cat, yeah.
size, yeah. Well, then they have that net where it's like, dude, have you looked at the size of the holes in this net? Anything can get through that. I can put my whole arm through that thing. You're not catching anything in that net.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, of course, later on with the movie, as it goes, you're like, wow, that was a really optimistic approach.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
What if we just spook it?
just make it mad, throw it on there.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's one of those movies that I, thinking about it in the run for this review, realized that I emphatically cannot watch with my wife. I don't think she would survive this movie. I think it's incredibly tense.
Yeah.
And then also, when I think of the franchise, Aliens is really what I reference the most. It's the one that I quote the most, and it's a more stereotypical '80s action
Action
film.
film,
Well,
right?
let's segue real quick then. So if someone liked this movie, what else should they watch?
I mean,
Ooh, I have no answer to that because I don't watch horror films.
Well, I was
like-
going to say Aliens
I mean,
is kind of
well,
a...
Aliens keeps you within the universe,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
I think probably some of the better examples of jump scare or high tension horror. I don't know that, if you're a really big fan of kind of the trend of big gory horror where, people are just splattered over the walls and everything else, this is not that film, right?
No.
Yeah.
Because it's very restrained in a lot of its violence. You really want something that's going to build tension. And Ryan, you are our horror guru.
I mean, obviously, the one that jumps to mind is John Carpenter's 1982, The Thing.
Obviously.
Oh, yeah. That's an easy,
Yeah,
because
I
it's
feel
the
like
same kind of
It's
feel.
the same kind of feel.
Yeah.
It's this,
Does that take place in Antarctica?
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
It's this like blue collar crew. They're out in the
Mhm.
middle of nowhere. I don't want to spoil too much because it's another one of my favorite
Okay,
films of
gotcha.
all
And
time.
you need to not be spoiled going into
Yeah,
it. And,
it- if you like this movie and you have not seen The Thing,
see the thing.
stop
yeah.
listening. No, don't do that.
Keep
Go watch The Thing.
I've never seen it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, man.
I think you would actually enjoy it.
We should have a movie night. Although it's disgusting. It's very
I
violent.
must say, now, I was just about to caveat that. I was like,
yeah.
I don't have any particular desire to see it. I've seen it enough.
I watch it about once a year.
Andrew, you are free to watch.
It
So,
it
Andrew,
is the same
We could do like a guys' night and watch it, and then I'll just like watch through my fingers.
boys' night.
Andrew, Among Us, the polar research map.
Yeah, that's
It's
the thing.
it's the
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
It's the thing. Another one I would throw out is the Predator.
Yeah. Oh
'Cause
yeah,
it's
yeah,
kind of
Predator,
like-
yeah, the
yeah.
first
It's
Predator.
the same
film.
idea. The first
Mhm.
Predator.
Predator is still more action oriented
It is.
than this, but it definitely has the same.
Like there's a
intense
there's a
feelings.
creature, there's
Yeah.
a crew of people trying to survive it.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing with all those. The Thing,
Yeah.
Alien,
Mhm.
Predator, all if you like that type of pacing in your movie and that's like the central conceit, then I think those are good.
So before we, because I know we're kind of wrapping up here, I'm
Yeah.
also going to suggest something, but it is not horror films.
Yeah.
Oh,
It is board games.
oh yeah.
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
yeah.
So,
his love and joy here.
Okay, so this is one of my favorite lightweight board games.
Do you love the movie Alien?
Yes, I do.
If the
Steven.
answer is yes, this is for you.
Yes, so there is, if you go to Target right now, They sell the Alien, The Fate of Nostromo board game. It is a co-op up to 5-person board game
Yes.
where you are on the Nostromo trying to survive and complete objectives and get through and escape or kill the alien or basically do all sorts of different things. And the alien is an AI that basically runs around and just causes havoc.
Yeah, based off like card draws. And
Meaning,
stuff.
meaning the game itself is playing like it's
You-
4
you are
players
just
versus
playing
the
the film.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has Jonesy in it. It has Ash in it. If you want a harder mode, then Ash can be definitely an integral part of the game, which is very
Yeah.
difficult.
Yeah, the
and-
scale on this can go up really rapidly and how difficult it can be.
Yes, I can't recommend this game enough. It is $30 at Target. Actually, and most of the time they have it on sale for like $20.
Mhm.
Like if you have just a group of friends that
Yeah.
want to play that enjoy this theme, and it's a co-op, so it's not competitive. I
Mhm.
wholeheartedly recommend it. Like this is
The-
just such
the
an
theme
easy.
is
It's one of the
really
funnest
well
times
done.
I've had with a board game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's such an
Yeah.
easy in to this, and the fun part is because like whenever you think co-op, you think of Pandemic. If you're familiar with board games, you cannot really play this game by yourself in a group of people.
You can't like take
You,
charge.
you,
and
you
tell people
can't
what to
basically
do.
just tell people what to do.
Right. Yeah. You have to work together.
Yeah,
to
you
get
have
through
to
it.
work together to make it happen. I love this game so much, and it is definitely has augmented my love for this film as well, for sure.
Great artwork too.
Yeah.
Like on the
Mhm.
cards and the
it comes with
characters.
little minis. I painted them. They look great.
Yeah. If you're into that
If
sort of
you're-
thing.
Yeah.
Nerd. All right, well, that's going to wrap it up for us, guys. Thanks for listening to Spoilers Intended. Remember, if you like what you heard and you want more, you can support us for the low price on Patreon of just $1 a month. And that gets you access to all of our bonus episodes. Guys, what do you think about our bonus episodes?
I think they're really fun.
They're a lot of fun. A big change, I would say, from the conventional review format in
Yeah.
a good way, in that
Mhm.
where it's a little more relaxed, a little more round table, just having fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and-
we do a lot of fun stuff on there. We got a Star Wars tier list where we ranked all the mainline Star Wars movies.
Yep.
That was a
That-
lot of fun.
That was an experience. We also have anime recommendations. If you've never decided to watch anime or you kind of have the itch for it,
Mhm.
that's a good episode to kind of check out.
Yeah.
And we're also always putting more onto our list and then choosing from it kind of at random. In any kind of tier list we do, there's a lot of politics. If you're a big fan of the Star Wars prequels, you'll love it because there's a lot of politics because we have to convince one another why to go up or down.
Yep.
And again, for $1, you get access to all of the bonus content we've uploaded. Plus, we're going to upload at least one bonus episode a month.
Yep.
So I think it's well worth $1.
Yeah.
We also have a Discord if you want to join in on the conversation. If you loved or hated Alien and want to tell us about it, jump in there.
Yeah.
All the links for that can be found, again, at spoilersintendedpodcast.com. Until next time, I'm Ryan,
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Steven.
and every spoiler was intended. And now each individually, Andrew, Steven, me.